making a lot of notes during this. So we're going to talk about science and scientific revolution, and we're going to talk about a scientific revolution which is happening right now, and I'm going to invite you to join that scientific revolution. So first off, this is a wonderful time for science in the world. We have all sorts of things going on. We have the buckyballs, nanoparticles, we have the Curiosity rover that just landed on Mars, and we have the search for the Higgs in Switzerland. But the most interesting things that are going on, with scientific revolution, it's a little bit different. Revolution is about science that we thought was true, that becomes either obsolete or we realize is absolutely wrong at some point in time. And the great example of that in our history is the Earth in the center of the solar system, or is the sun there? Heliocentrism versus geocentrism. So anyone who knows the history of that, Galileo was told to stop studying astronomy at some point in his history. A current science revolution we have is the low-carb revolution. So the entire bottom of that food pyramid has been sliced off by some of the researchers. And there's some very interesting reasons why they've done that. So the first is keto adaptation, and that's basically the property inside of our muscle cells where we've gone from, our muscles get rewired and they start to chop up fat into little particles called ketones. And that transition takes about 28 days to happen. Once it's happened, we have a source of energy available to us that is far more reliable than carbohydrates. The second part about this is, once we've done that, our brains can actually use ketones to burn instead of carbohydrates. The ketones will go through our blood-brain barrier. They're little tiny molecules that are there. And fat molecules will not go through the barrier, but ketones will. So we can go from burning a very small percentage of carbohydrates in our brain to about 70% of ketones in our brain. The third change that happens is, when we burn ketones, we produce far more water and far less carbon dioxide. That means we're breathing less, and also our heart is beating less at that point in time. So these are three compelling reasons, 1, 2, 3, why going to a keto metabolism is actually advantageous to us. So if you're an athlete, it's something definitely worth checking out. And for people who aren't athletes, it's also something very useful to check out at some point. So if you're going to check out this sort of thing, I recommend trying a low-carb diet. And if you do, there's some great books about that. This is written by a couple of scientists, a bunch of citations in it. Jonathan Baylor is a social media specialist, but he's also researched the science very well. Now, if you're going to check out the science about these things, you want to go to a research library and actually check out the papers themselves. Who's read a science paper in the last year here? Oh my, okay. So we have 3 world-class institutes here in the Triangle. But if you want to go read a science, if you're affiliated with one of these, you can go in and get access to them. But anyone off the street can actually walk into the University of North Carolina at the Davis Graduate Library and get an hour pass to download science papers. Now, I'm not saying this makes the University of North Carolina superior to these other schools, but that is an absolutely beautiful Carolina blue sky there. Also, if you're going to study science, one of the things you'll notice is you'll bump against a lot of preconception that you have. You won't have it all figured out initially. Bucky Fuller has a great quote about that. Dare to be naive. Bring a sense of playfulness and exploration to studying science. And you'll get it wrong sometimes. It doesn't really matter, but it's a great exploration. If you're not familiar with him, Fuller is one of the great scientists of the 20th century. He was an explorer. He challenged a lot of things. The molecule there, carbon-60, is called Buckminster fullerene. So who out here has a molecule named after them? This is cool stuff. Amy Edmondson, a Harvard professor, wrote a great book about his stuff. Highly recommended. I recommend if you have a daughter or niece, checking it out with them. And that's available for free on Google Books to read. So you have homework. Here's your homework. Go read a science paper. There are the notes if you want to check those out. And I have a question for you. Are you ready to start a scientific revolution? Thank you.